Ms. Rishika Sharma. She's the core team member, 8-1 Foundation and President Delhi Ethics Council. And she is at the 8 Goals 1 Foundation and is also the president of the Delhi Ethics Council of Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Her interest lies in working towards the practicality of theoretical concepts of gender patriarchy, feminism, the gendered nature of language, human rights, gendered nationalism, body rights, gendered politics, peace, conflict, violence, and sexuality.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me here today. It's been wonderful to hear what everyone has had to say so far. Before I begin, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy International Day of Education, even though belated now. I really hope that we are able to mainstream conversations like these, which not only help rebuild but also reimagine what inclusive education should mean for our country. So, when I was invited by UNESCO for this celebration, I was told that I would be focusing on the concerns and aspirations of the youth in a post COVID world. So, while I'm definitely happy that I get the chance to represent the youth in this platform, I don't think it would be fair on my part if I begin without first acknowledging that I have been extremely privileged during the pandemic. And unfortunately, that's not been the case with most young individuals in our country. So, even though there are some patterns that can be identified in the struggles and concerns of young students across the globe, especially in the face of the current pandemic and the consequent economic recession, not to forget climate change, which was and remains a massive challenge, we must also keep in mind that it's counterproductive to homogenize these struggles and concerns. One thing that we do know, however, is that due to the pandemic, a lot of young individuals have been pushed further into marginalization, and issues such as the lack of access to resources, unemployment, the digital divide have become even more rampant. And on the other side, creating sustainable work opportunities is still not a priority. So I think while we can keep talking about the issues at hand, what I do want to do today is to address the two key solutions which I believe can help us tackle both the quality of education as well as the creation of jobs. I strongly believe that there is a lot that we can do as communities to build an inclusive and equal system which takes care of everyone and not just a few. So I'll start by sharing a small conversation with all of you. So a recent conversation with a group of young women who are in the process of starting their own organization called Narivad further validated, for me at least, the importance of community learning as a solution that the youth is willing to embrace. So in this conversation, they started talking about some of the concerns that they have as 19, 20-year-olds and how that has encouraged them to conduct workshops around financial literacy, gender sensitivity, and much more for people their age. So this instantly resonated with me and made me start thinking about all the times when I was able to comprehend something better because a friend of mine or someone my age was explaining something to me. And just to take on from that, I think community or peer learning not only makes education more appealing and fun, but also makes it more accessible. So I think now this system could work in multiple different ways. But to give you an idea about some of the ways that I have been working towards, both in my capacity at the Eight Goals One Foundation and as the president of the Ethics Council of Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So, firstly, such a system based on community learning and collaboration could function with the help of youth and student volunteers who are interested in teaching young and economically lesser privileged children. And just to explain this better, for example, my school, Sardar Patel Vidyalaya, adopted a village named Mandi in 1968 under the program titled Sardar Patel Vidya Niketan. So, this program is based on the kind of community learning that I have been referring to so far. And it encourages the more privileged students from Sardar Patel Vidyalaya to volunteer and teach and interact with the students in Mandi. And as a result of this program, over the past years, there has been a lot of development in Mandi, whereby now they have their own school and other such required facilities. So I think I personally feel that if we start encouraging colleges as well as schools to take this approach, we could ensure that a more inclusive world where the individuals who have access to resources work towards ensuring that others also get that same access. Then, secondly, I think while this type of community learning is based on willful volunteering, Another strategy that can be explored is a mandatory credit system, wherein university students who have access to resources are encouraged to take part in community learning as part of mandatory volunteering every semester. So, for instance, during my master's at Ambedkar University, Delhi, we had a 2 month long internship, which everyone had to do because the credits for these 2 months added up to the final score. So, while I do realize that this takes away from the agency of students, I do believe that in reality, it has the potential of bridging the digital divide by bringing back human driven learning and further encourage the youth to be more empathetic towards other individuals. Then, apart from this, I think the government could also collaborate with different telecom industrialists to set up free internet services in areas that lack digital connectivity. So, for example, we know that the government of India has recently proposed to launch PM Vani, or Prime Minister Wi-Fi Access Network interface, which aims to provide free access to internet connectivity to everyone across the country. And I think at the end of the day, it's quite a simple flow. You need the content that is tailor made to suit the different demographics that we need to cover. We need data access to help make this content reach these demographics, hopefully through initiatives like PM Vani. And finally, we need to make hardware available for them to access this content via this data, as has been done through hardware recycling and low cost technology products distributed by various governments. All three of these have been successfully achieved in the past for commercial or political reasons. And I don't think there should be anything stopping us from doing that again for our youth. And while we are moving in the right direction, as Dr. Gauri and everyone else also pointed out, I do believe that we must adopt similar multi-pronged approaches while trying to make education more accessible. And coming to what is considered to be one of the key end goals that education serves for the youth, that is employment and job creation. I believe that the need of the hour is to gradually start moving towards a circular economy. When I talk about a circular economy, I of course speak of it how it's commonly understood. That is, as an economic model that keeps sustainability of our society and the environment at its core, while still allowing businesses to grow and profit. However, with respect to the youth, the concept of circular economy also includes a collaborative approach towards achieving gainful employment. So, without complicating it further, let's look at it this way. If we can get our youth to move away from competing with each other for jobs and towards collaborating with each other, for both creating new opportunities as well as assisting each other in grabbing the existing opportunities, most of the work will be done by the youth themselves. This would also mean redefining remuneration to mean a lot more than just money. And this model can be used very effectively with my previous suggestion of creating a system of community learning, which can benefit from a circular economy based reward model and consequently also reduce its dependence on government or corporate funding. Finally, I know I'm running out of time, but I do want to leave all of you with one thought. In the pursuit of finding the best solution for taking education to each and every member of the youth, we must not stop ourselves from contributing in whatever way that we can. Every effort, even if it's not the most efficient or effective, is still better than not contributing at all. So, to everyone who is listening, let's continue these conversations and find the best ways of achieving our objectives. But while we all do that, you should also go out there and spend an hour with the son of your local plumber, teaching him the alphabet. Go out and buy a fun with numbers book, not for yourself, but the daughter of your local fruit seller. And I think on that note, I would also want to end my address. And thank you again for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. It was really interesting and very important. I think what we require is collaboration. And I would like to thank all of you, our viewers and our eminent panelists, for giving your time.